The skewed and racially structured economy. Speaking at the inaugural Black Industrialists and Exporters Conference, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that there are now over 300,000 black-owned formal businesses in South Africa who own half of the SMMEs in the formal sector. This from around 150,000 black-owned formal businesses in 1994. Now let's get the very latest on the conference. We now cross to SABC News business anchor Nompumelelo Siziba. Nompu, thank you so much for joining us once again this afternoon. Now, of course, there has been, as you give us the latest on what is happening at the conference, there has been some form of criticism in terms of, this conference may perhaps not be that inclusive enough, but the reality on the ground is that there should be this focus on black industrialists. Just take us through that and what's happening now in terms of the latest, Nompu.
Thanks very much, Unati. Yes, very contentious indeed that there is this Black Industrialist Exporter Conference taking place. Some people coming up, with reservations, saying that it's a racist intervention because it's just looking at black people and it's not an all-inclusive thing. But I think the point that the president tried to drive home in his keynote speech earlier today was that the reason why black people, black entrepreneurs are being identified as a people is because of the skewed dynamics in our economy in terms of ownership. Because of the legacy of apartheid and colonialism and all of that, you have a situation where a small proportion of the country's population still have a very serious and significant controlling interest in the economy. And if you keep things just rolling as per normal with no deliberate interventions, then that situation, the status quo will continue. And therefore the ANC government felt it was important to have this intervention of the Black Industrialist program, which is an add-on to the bigger concept of black economic empowerment. Now these days we say broad-based black economic empowerment. So that's the reason, and I think President Ramaphosa was trying to encourage people that this is not a non-inclusive idea or project, but one that needs to take place in order to redress the imbalances of the past. But I guess that debate is going to continue. Now, of course, we're located in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, where this conference is taking place. Gauteng for many years has been the economic powerhouse of not only South Africa but of Africa. But it's lost a lot of ground. Even just when we look at our basic services in the actual province, we see that things are going down. And of course, when you have a lack of service delivery, that's a massive impediment to local businesses, black and white and any other color. So I have here in our studio the MEC for Economic Development for Gauteng, Park Stow, just to give us his insights on this conference and what his government, provincial government, is looking to do to ensure that indeed there's more industrialization in the Gauteng province, because that is the one sure way forward for economic growth to really be a reality. Thank you very much, Mr. Dow, for joining us. Now, we know that the Black Industrialist program is an intervention by the government to try and redress the imbalances of the past. To what extent has that initiative or policy had an impact on the Gauteng economy? Have you seen evidence of that, especially in light of the fact that we have seen a sort of level of deindustrialization?
Thank you very much, Nompu, and good evening. Firstly, I think it is important to acknowledge that this conference is convened as part of a process of reviewing our policies with regards to broad-based black economic empowerment, and as the President said, set us on the next stage of empowerment projects, because redress in this country is important. We need to ensure the transformation responds to the reality of our history and creating a more equitable society and creating a more equitable base of participation in the economy. And the ideas that are coming out are suggesting that in fact we can accelerate the participation of black industrialists for local production, but also to target the export market. And I've seen enthusiasm from the private sector, those that are participants here, to say, yes, we can see that government is setting the stage for the next step to move up on the ladder of empowerment and transformation. And I'm looking forward to the final outcomes of the conference and the direction that it would give all of us, both in the public and the private sector, about the next steps to take. Now, one of the things we have observed at the conference is the reality that we have a significant base of black entrepreneurs that have ventured into manufacturing, that have ventured into industrial development and industrial products, that have ventured into the export market, but there are still major impediments to that. And the call is, can we find more innovative solutions? Innovative solutions in enterprise development, in supplier development, innovative solutions with regards to financing. Many say, yes, we apply for funding, but we require equity to be able to get our projects to be funded. But I come from a history where I have the idea, but I don't have the equity. How do we overcome that problem? And we in the province have started to respond to that. We've started to respond in particular through the Township Economy Partnership Fund, because we've looked at redress from a dual lens, if you like, both spatial transformation and also the transformation of industry itself in terms of black participation. So the Township Economic Intervention is to enable us to do exactly that. And the fund is directed at creating almost instruments that have a grant and loan facility. We take a first loss position in certain instances as the provincial government that enables our partners to be able to disperse and acknowledge our first loss position, and therefore enable people to participate. And we're looking at various industries that would be able to support in this regard.
You talk about the township economy, and that's really been a buzz issue for you that you've been talking about a lot. What are you doing as the Gauteng government to ensure that there's the necessary infrastructure in the township economies? Because we know that township economies have not really been well resourced, because you can try and boost the businesses there, but if they don't have the necessary conducive infrastructure around them, including things like electricity, to function, they can't.
In terms of the Township Economy Act, we are able to create and designate township enterprise zones. And in these township enterprise zones, we have different levels of intervention by government. The first, of course, is to build the appropriate infrastructure and to support the appropriate infrastructure. The second is about direct procurement, even from government. The third is about enterprise and supplier development, dedicating resources that go into enterprises there to enable those enterprises to be able to reach the appropriate level where they can trade both with the public and the private sector. We're also looking at possible incentives that we're currently lobbying with national government. So yes, infrastructure is a component of it, and we would be dedicating infrastructure investment into the designated township enterprise zones. We are currently in the process of working through the areas to be designated so that we're able to then say, this is the concentrated level of intervention, and we call it benefit stacking. We would stack a whole range of benefits in these township enterprise zones and give the enterprises there a better chance of success and survival. But I thought the point that you were raising about infrastructure is a very important issue. We are currently in discussions with National Treasury, the Government Technical Advisory Center, on creating a model of infrastructure financing that involves the private sector as partners and that takes a long-term view with regards to financing. We currently are in the process of finalizing the structure and going to market. We designed it around the Lanseria development, the Lanseria smart city development, but we can replicate it to other parts because infrastructure is going to be a major impediment to our growth unless we address it. So we found models of ensuring that we can literally front load the investment into infrastructure so that you have the infrastructure to help the economy grow, and on the basis of that have more people that are able to contribute to job creation, but also to the fiscus. But at the back of that is the reality that it will be financed over a long period of time involving the private sector with risks on both sides between us and the private sector.
MEC, thank you so much for your insights there. That was the MEC of Gauteng for Economic Development. He has other titles, but we'll just keep it to that. Just giving us his take on the Black Industrialist program and the work that the Gauteng government is doing to boost the likes of the township economy. It's over to you, Unathi.
All right, thank you so much, Nompu. That's where we have to leave it for now. Nompumelelo Siziba chatting there to MSC Parks.